He's been at the team since 2021, 22, 23, 24, yet Yuki Tsunoda remains a junior driver, a Red Bull Racing second team stalwart. Yuki Tsunoda is snubbed. He does not get the Red Bull seat. Liam Lawson is confirmed as a Red Bull driver in 2025 to sit alongside Max Verstappen. We knew this was coming. You know, the reports have been for a while now, but you never know with Red Bull. They can always, break their ankles and change their mind last minute. But it is confirmed. Liam Lawson will be a Red Bull driver in 2025. And look, there's a lot of discourse going on. Of course, Yuki Tsunoda's been overlooked again. He was overlooked, far too often, and he is the deserving driver. But at the end of the day, there's more to it than just that, right? And his Honda connection, perhaps it has worked against him. Maybe. We don't know. We've not had a statement out from Christian Horner or Red Bull Racing confirming why not Yuki. And do I think we're going to get one? No. Are they going to get asked? Absolutely, of course. But it's a while since until we're back testing in February. I remember Yuki's quote saying, "If Liam got the Red Bull seat ahead of him, it would be weird." And perhaps it is weird, but it is what it is. It's done, and I just hope for this young Kiwi's sake, for Liam's own career moving forward, right? Because it could have broken Gasly's career. Fortunately, it didn't. Could have broken Albon's career. Fortunately, it didn't. Look, Checo wouldn't have achieved any of the wins, bar that one in the Racing Point he got in Bahrain, without Red Bull. They did give him the lifeline, the opportunity to come back into Formula One. And they gave him, 4 seasons, which you've got to say, how do I sit on it with Perez, Red Bull? You know what I mean? Because Red Bull gave him the shot. They gave him the opportunity. They gave him 4 seasons. And he's won, 5 Grand Prix? Maybe more than that? I think it's 5, isn't it? So, I think at the end of the day, Perez is gone. Who knows what's next for him? That was the topic of yesterday's live stream. Today we're all talking about Liam, talking about you. Starting with Liam, right? There's a good bit of Talking Ball podcast with Nicola Hume. Shout out Nicola, who did a sit down with Liam on the Red Bull Racing channel. I'd recommend you give it a listen. It's about 20-25 minutes long. And you know what? Look, he's going to get a lot of stick. He's going to get a lot of abuse, which is the sad reality of social media, right? A lot of people disgruntled that Yuki didn't get the seat, and understandably disgruntled. I can get looking at it and being like, Yuki deserves it more, because I do think Yuki deserves it more. But that doesn't mean it's this unjust crime that Liam got it, and he certainly doesn't deserve a lot of the stick that he is getting. Obviously not. So that goes without saying, right? But yeah, look, from New Zealand, and many ways similar to Yuki, where if you're going to make it, if you're going to get into this sport and achieve at the top level, you do kind of have to move. If you're born, in Japan or in New Zealand, Checo has experienced the same. He's spoken about this, having to move from Mexico as a young driver over to the UK, over to Europe. It's a big life change for these youngsters who are chasing a dream at the end of the day. And, Liam's parents had to sacrifice a lot to get him into opportunities and picked up by Red Bull. And Red Bull have supported him for a long time. And, they have somewhat... They've endorsed and supported Liam for a while, and they've given him run-outs in DTM, in the Ferrari, ironically enough, in Super Formula, and in junior formulas. He's not won everything, but I've said this before about Liam. He's always been consistently up there. He's always been consistently competitive, and I think that speaks volumes. Also, obviously, Liam has tested the Red Bull a number of times. He's been a simulator driver for Red Bull Racing, which wasn't obviously the case for Pierre Gasly. Even Alex Albon. Alex Albon was a Mercedes simulator driver before the Formula E opportunity presented, and then the Toro Rosso opportunity presented last minute. So, Pierre was doing Toro Rosso. He wasn't testing the Red Bull. Alex was just plucked out of nowhere, and all of a sudden he was in a Toro Rosso. Liam has mileage in a Red Bull car. He has mileage in the Red Bull simulator. And I hope that Red Bull have learnt from their past mistakes, right? Because, again, they could have broken Pierre Alex's careers. Fortunately, they haven't, and I think Pierre and Alex have gone on to prove they're very, very capable racing drivers. Are they world beaters? No. But are they very capable, deserving Formula One drivers? I think absolutely. I hope Red Bull have learnt from the mistakes they've ultimately made with Pierre, with Alex, with Sergio. Of course, the drivers have to accept a significant amount of culpability as to why those stints didn't work. But Red Bull Racing, of course, have a significant responsibility in that, right? And it's gone wrong for them 3 times. There's not been a capable second driver alongside Max since Daniel Ricciardo. And I hope they won't make the same mistake again. We talk about, McLaren making their mistakes this year as a team on strategy, etc., etc. And the idea, anyway, is that you make these mistakes, you learn from them. As human beings, we learn most from our mistakes. And you readjust and you come back stronger. And I hope Red Bull have done the same. And I hope they're going to... Is this building for the future? A post-race, post-Max future? I wouldn't go that far. But also, they can't rely on Max forever. And, 2 Sergios in this RB20. And that Red Bull is about as competitive as Aston Martin. Okay? So they do have to think pragmatically. I love that word. For the future. Of course they do. And is Liam necessarily the guy to lead Red Bull Racing long term? It's far, far too early to say. And that's a huge burden of expectation to put on Liam. But Red Bull need to learn how to facilitate a second driver who's not, again, this isn't just a case of Max being a god. Because of course he is. He's incredible, right? But it's one thing being beaten by Max every weekend and being out-qualified by Max every weekend. But that's just not been the case, has it? Because Max has been beating Sergio. But Charles and Lando and Oscar and Carlos and George and Lewis and sometimes Pierre and sometimes Fernando have also been beating Sergio. That's been the problem. It's not just getting beaten by your teammate. It's not just Max is this demigod and no one. McLaren and Ferrari and Mercedes this year have been able to facilitate competitive cars that more than one driver can drive. And Red Bull haven't been able to do that. And if they're going to, have a car that can be driven within this super narrow performance window that Max Verstappen can extract, well, Red Bull need to find a way to open up that operating window. Because in Formula One, you have 2 drivers in your team. So I hope for Liam. I really do hope for Liam. Because he seems like a very sound lad. He's a bit elbows out. He's not afraid to get amongst it. I think he's got a lot of character, a lot of personality. I've got a lot of love for Liam Lawson. And I really hope this works out for him. Is it too early? Look, again, he's only had 11 Grand Prix, sure. But he's done a lot of Red Bull testing. He's done a lot of Red Bull simulator work. Surely they wouldn't give him the seat if they didn't believe it's going to be a step up. Because, look, at the end of the day, they've got all the data they need on Sergio Perez over 4 full seasons. They've got plenty of data on Liam, having done FP1s in a Red Bull, having done testing mileage, old car testing in the simulator. They'd be foregoing a lot of money, letting Checo go. We'll probably never know the terms of the breakup between Red Bull and Sergio Perez, but we know a lot of money is involved, and we know how valuable Checo was to Red Bull GmbH, the broader brand, in selling cans. They wouldn't replace him if they didn't think Liam realistically, viably was an improvement. And obviously we'll get onto why they didn't go for Yuki either. Or we can only speculate, of course, why they didn't go for Yuki either. But yeah, I just really hope it works out for him. I really do hope it works out for him. Because, again, given his 11 Grand Prix versus Yuki's 87, and I said this in the stream yesterday, Liam's first 11 Grand Prix, I believe, absolutely were more impressive than Yuki's first 11 Grand Prix. Yuki had a much more competitive car in 2021 than Liam has had in 2023 and 2024. I think that's fair to say as well. So you can't just compare the results. I think the way Liam drove in Zandvoort on debut in such tricky conditions, the way he drove in Singapore at qualifying Max, yes, I know it was a difficult weekend for Max, granted, right? But Liam got that car into Q3, regardless of him at qualifying Max. He got that car into Q3. In Singapore, with over only a handful of races, he's demonstrated a adaptability throughout his career, but also his he's shown that he's not phased by the limelight and the spotlight and the expectation. And I hope, because we don't know, I don't know, you don't know, but I hope it converts into decent results and a decent uptick. Because Red Bull obviously need it. I think Max is going to need a teammate who can take points off of other drivers in order to mount a solid title charge, right? Because the Red Bull isn't the quickest car anymore. He is the quickest driver still. But when it's so competitive, so tight at the top, with Lando in his McLaren, Oscar in his McLaren, Charles in his Ferrari, Lewis in his Ferrari, if he's firing, who knows, George Russell in his Mercedes, I think you're going to need a second driver to be taking points off them lot. Otherwise, it's going to be a real uphill battle for Max. And yeah, I really hope it works out for him. I do. And I think, I said this yesterday, if I had to put money on who would be a better Red Bull Racing driver, I would put that money on Liam Lawson. But if you had to ask me who deserves it, who deserves the opportunity more, of course, Yuki Tsunoda deserves it more. But that's not what life is all about sometimes. Thank you, Tommy, for the super chat, Tommy Senpai. I hope Red Bull shows as much patience and support for Liam as they did with Checo. Love seeing Lawson get this chance. Yes, absolutely. And look, I think a lot of that, it's very fair to say a lot of that patience and support was given because of Checo's commercial viability. Liam does not have that. He does not have that feather in his cap. He does not have that slide on his portfolio that Checo does. So you would hope that, given how long Liam's been part of the family, again, the testing mileage and the simulator mileage he's done, Red Bull are making an educated punt here on Liam Lawson, rather than just, oh, well, not Checo, we'll just chuck in Liam, like, blindfolded and just going for it. Do I think they'll give him the same amount of patience as they did Checo? Do I think Liam would have survived 4 seasons driving at the same relative pace to Max as Checo has been? No, because he doesn't have the commercial backing. But I think Red Bull need to learn from their mistakes. I think, look, I don't know how viable Albon would have been to return to Red Bull, right? And maybe if they'd have given Alex more time, we'll never know. We'll never know if Alex would have improved or whether he needed to get out of that pressure cooker that was Red Bull Racing to go to Williams, to then improve and to then grow, and maybe then going back, versus him staying there and just continually getting smashed by Max in a sporting competitive way, of course. And we'll never know. We'll never know. And again, I just hope Red Bull have learnt from what's happened in the past with Pierre, with Alex, with Sergio, and can do things differently. I hope. I just want it to work for him, you know, because it's not worked for too long, and it's been. I'm really not. If it doesn't go well for Liam, I'm really not looking forward to the discourse. That's what I'll say. Thank you, Louis, for the super chat. Appreciate you, Louis. Should Yuki consider a change during the 2025 season, even as a reserve driver, maybe? Which team would be a good choice? Well, look, I think, Louis, I think that Yuki is, and I guess we'll move on to Yuki now, who's snubbed, passed up. Look, I think the best thing Yuki can do is prove him wrong, right? The best thing Yuki can do is wipe the floor with the driver who's replacing Liam, who we'll talk about in a minute, and just prove him wrong. Just be like, in 2025, just have an unbelievable season, be super calm and composed on the radio, be very, very, very quick, be very, very, very consistent, not make too many mistakes, drive like a driver in his 5th season of Formula One. I think that's the best thing Yuki can do, right? Make his stock as high as possible. You know, with Jack Doohan, with Ollie Behrman, with Kimi Antonelli, with, obviously, not so much with Isaac, that's not really relevant, with Bortoletto at Sauber. There's a lot of new blood coming in. And this is it. Like, Yuki, like, his future is not a Red Bull. This is it. It's done now. It's done. Like, Yuki will leave Red Bull in the next 2 seasons maximum, right? There is no way, like, that it's not getting the Red Bull seat. Now, this was the opportunity. this was the final chance and it's now gone. Okay, so yeah, all Yuki can do is just get his head down and be like, all right, fine, overlook me, cool. I'm gonna cook. I'm gonna do an unbelievable job in this second team, and then Honda, Aston Martin, possibly. You would think that connection would be strong enough. Would it be strong enough to usurp Fernando Alonso in 2026? Absolutely not. There's no way Fernando Alonso isn't in an Aston Martin in 2026. I'm more confident of that than I am about Lance Stroll not being in an Aston Martin in 2026. Because Fernando, that's the whole plan for Fernando. Give me the car in 26, an Adrian Newey designed Aston Martin with a Mercedes engine at the back that we know is probably going to, not Mercedes engine at the back, sorry, Honda engine at the back, that's going to cook and deliver him his third world title. And if he doesn't win it in 26, I think he'll be off. And to be fair, if Aston Martin come out the gates slowly in 26, I could absolutely see Fernando calling it quits before the years even out, because 26 is the play. That's the gamble for Fernando. Unfortunately, time's working against him, and I think it's then or never for Fernando Alonso at Aston Martin, and he'll do everything he can this year to just everything has to be 26, right? There's nothing to fight for in 25 for Aston Martin. Everything's got to be 26. And how does Yuki fit into that? I'd love for Yuki to come in and replace Lance. I don't think that's going to happen. I think it's more likely that Yuki replaces Fernando in 2027, or if they're not so good in 26 and they're not championship competitive, and Fernando's like, right, this is it, I can't be arsed, I'm done, then Yuki replaces Fernando mid-season in 26. That's likely how I if I had to predict, that's how I'd see it panning out for Yuki. But it's a shame. Look, that I said this yesterday. The result that would have made me happiest is Yuki Tsunoda being in a Red Bull, being in those overalls next season, because he does deserve it the most, and he deserves the opportunity. And I'd have been fascinated to see how he would have stacked up, right? Considering how he performed relative to Ricciardo, how he's performed relative to De Vries, how he's performed relative to Lawson, how he performed relative to Gasly, as well during their time as teammates. It would have been really fascinating to see him stack up against Max and see what that differentiation would have been, what that gap would have been. And I think it's a shame, but there's factors outside, and again, I retain that I think his Honda connection, it's kind of been a double-edged sword, right? Because without his Honda connection, he had a very messy first season. Very messy, right? And when he got the extension, he was surprised. I think the Honda connection helped him consolidate his position at that team and keep him there for as long as it has. But it's also got in the way, now that connection is breaking up, of him getting the promotion. That's the most sensible, logical, rational take I have looking at it. And I could be wrong, but that's what I think. Thank you, Ate Your Chips. I certainly hope you didn't, mate. For the super chat. Inexperience mixed plus teammates with Verstappen isn't going to end well, and Liam has even less experience than Gasly and Albon did. Not too sure, Well, look, I think experience in Formula 1 is one thing. I think Liam's got a lot of experience in various different types of car. He's got more experience in the Red Bull racing car than Gasly and Albon did when they got promoted, because he's tested it, because he's been in the sim a lot, right? But he has less experience in Formula 1. Now, I think Liam has proven in his 11 races that he can hold his own, in wheel-to-wheel, right? He can drive without shunting. I don't remember, maybe he has, but I don't remember a shunt from Lawson that's noteworthy. And that's why I'm cautiously optimistic, because he has experience in that actual Red Bull car. And Red Bull have looked at whatever numbers he's putting out in that Red Bull car, not in a V-CARB, not in a Toro Rosso, right? Not in some other team, in that Red Bull racing car, in that RB20, RB19, right? They've seen his numbers, and now they've promoted him. So that tells me there must be something there. Surely there must be something there. Versus Albon, who was in a Toro Rosso very last minute and then just chucked in a Red Bull racing car. Versus Pierre, who was Toro Rosso all season and then chucked in a Red Bull racing car. When they're clearly different, like, yes, they share many components, of course, but in terms of the challenge of driving these cars, they are different fundamentally, right? If they weren't, then we wouldn't have this problem, would they? So that's why my optimism is there. It's cautious, but it's there. Thank you, David, for the super chat as well. I hope Yuki goes on a Gasly like 2019 revenge tour. That's what he's got to do. He needs to take care of himself, right? Yuki needs to take care of himself. And also, he needs to understand that, look, this Honda-Aston Martin relationship, it's not a guaranteed thing for him either. Because Stroll's there, because Alonso's there, because there's other interests at Aston Martin, of course. So Yuki can't bank everything on Aston Martin. He needs to be right. Okay, if Doohan's struggling, if Colapinto's not Colapinto, he's not got a C, unfortunately. If Bortoletto's struggling, if Kimi Antonelli's struggling, right, or if anyone, one of the more established drivers is struggling, I'm your guy, right? That Honda connection is there. We just don't know, though. It's not like, I do not believe it's like a, we own you, right? Everything Honda tells Yuki to do, he will do. I don't believe it's that strong a connection. But it's still there, and it's a loyalty, I think, Yuki understandably would feel towards Honda because they've supported him throughout his entire career. So, look, he needs to look out for number one. Red Bull haven't given him the opportunity, but they've not given him the top seat. They've also given him a seat in Formula One for 4 years, going into 5 years next year. That's all we can do. That's all he can do to maximise his opportunities. Momo, thank you as well for the super chat. It's a disgrace. It's an effing disgrace. Didier Drogba, famous. I remember watching that game live. Actually, that was. It's funny. This might actually be quite an unpopular opinion. I'm a West Ham fan through and through, of course, but maybe this is just the Brexit coursing through my veins, right? And this is the British bias. This is confirmed British bias from me, actually. Whenever English clubs play overseas in Europe, even ones I don't like, apart from you know the one English club I don't support when they're playing overseas, and when I say support, I mean like root for, right? I remember when Chelsea scored that really last minute goal against Atletico Madrid away, and I hate Chelsea, but I was like, oh my god, that's it. And when Tottenham won against Ajax in the last minute, come on. But the one team I can never ever support and endorse is Man United. They're my least favourite team. Anyway, I digress. You're not here for football talk, are you? Thank you, Momo, again for the super chat. Wouldn't Yuki also be commercially better for Red Bull / Racing Bulls? I don't necessarily, like, outside of his Honda connection. And look, again, Liam's. I'm not aware of the sponsors off the top of my head that Liam has and the support he has, apart from Rodin. I know Rodin supported him for a lot, and they're based out of New Zealand. No, I don't think so. Again, if Honda was staying as with Red Bull, I would say differently, but I think that I commercially they kind of cancel each other out as far as I'm concerned. Rodin, exactly, but that's about it as far as I'm aware. So, Liam Lawson in a Red Bull. Yuki Tsunoda remains in the Racing Bulls for next year. Hadjar, not confirmed yet, Isaac Hadjar, but all signs point towards Isaac being the guy in the V-CARB alongside Yuki Tsunoda next year. And look, to finish second in Formula 2, and to he had a bad year in F2 last season. It was difficult, and the thing is, it's hard to trust F2, isn't it? It's very hard to trust F2, very hard, because it's not as equal as we'd like it to be. I mean, last year in F2 he was 14th, but then who was 14th this year in F2? Ollie Behrman. And he got one sprint P3 last year in his high tech. So it was a bad year in F2. But then in F3 in 22, he was fourth, and that was really tightly run, that championship. That was an unbelievable. That's one of my favourite years of F3 actually, in like recent memory, because you had Victor won it ahead of Zane, and then Ollie, and them three were split by 7 points, and then Isaac was 9 points behind Ollie. Got 3 wins throughout the season, and Isaac was like right up there. He just had a bad run at the end, but first half of the season Isaac was flying. So he has demonstrated there is raw talent, there is raw ability, there is raw pace there. I think the question is going to be, again, and I spoke about this yesterday, does he have the mentality? He's very open to a blow up on the radio, but then so is Yuki, so is Pierre, so is Max. Like, Red Bull aren't afraid of taking these drivers in who demonstrate that raw ability and then trying to kind of, it's like when Yuki had to move back to Faenza because it wasn't really working, him living out in Milton Keynes. And I mean, Milton Keynes is Milton Keynes will do that to a person, No offense, Milton Keynes, but it's not great. And yeah, so Hadjar, I think finishing second in F2 merits an opportunity if it's there. And again, great raw pace. Will it work out? He's not been the most convincing in the FP1s we've seen of him so far. He's not shone in the same way that, say, an Ollie Behrman really shone at Haas and got glowing reports from Aokamatsu and has got a full-time seat at the team. We've not really heard the same positivity coming out of Red Bull and those close to the team. And I hope it. Look, I want to see kids succeed. Right, another Frenchman on the grid as well. I believe he's Isaac of Moroccan descent. I think. I seem to remember reading something like an interview he did, and he was talking about his kind of. But yeah, Isaac Hadjar, welcome to Formula One. Not confirmed, but almost there. Is it Algerian? There you go. And Owasa as well. TY. You mentioned Ayumu Owasa. And he, I think, again, if he had really done well in Super Formula, I think they'd have... he is a Honda driver again, right? Would that Honda connection, now that that's breaking up, would that have worked against Ayumu, right? I think Hadjar, does he merit it over Ayumu? I get why they're going for Hadjar over Ayumu Owasa. And I'm a big Ayumu Owasa fan. But, I think, again, the Honda connection, and he's not done what Liam did in Super Formula. Liam came into Super Formula and was unbelievable at the gate, won on debut, right? Which just isn't a thing that happens. So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing how Hadjar does. Obviously, Arvid Lindblad, I think he's still a bit too young. I don't think he has the super license points either. Whereas obviously Hadjar does by finishing in F2 because F2 is very generous with its super license points. And yeah, Colapinto must have been an option. I think Red Bull would like to try and promote from within. And I think for Colapinto, you know what? I think it's going to work out all right for him. I think it's going to work out all right for Colapinto. He's shown what he can do. He's shown that the ceiling is there. He's shown the hysteria he can create in a market that is of huge importance to Formula One. It should be of huge importance to Formula One and hasn't been. Like, Colapinto, the Argentinian fan base so badly wants him to be that guy because we haven't had an Argentinian in F1 that's succeeded in F1 since Carlos Reutemann. So yeah, I'm confident Colapinto's got a future in F1, and I'm satisfied with Hadjar getting the opportunity. Honestly, like any of these moves, like I'm not sure. I think Yuki deserved it over Liam, but at the end of the day, I think it's pretty marginal. We'll see. But I hope Hadjar does well because he's got a raw turn of pace in him. Absolutely, has Hadjar. Before we talk a little bit more about that, also a little bit of breaking news this morning. Valtteri Bottas will return to Mercedes. It's done as, I guess, a reserve driver. In fact, I've got the article here. Then we'll go for it. Valtteri returns. Up the Valts. They got to get. Come on. This is old Valtteri. Mercedes. Photoshop his new head with his lovely new mullet and moustache on this right now. Come on, Mercedes. Sort it out. What's next? That question has finally been answered. It's a third driver in 2025 is old Valts. I'm happy to finally answer the question I've posed after the past month. Returning home to the Mercedes family as the third driver for 2025 is what's next, and I couldn't be more pleased. I want to thank Toto, the team at Brackley, and everyone at Three Pointed Star for welcoming me back with open arms. Despite the challenges of the past few years, I know that I've got so much more to contribute to F1 since I was a 5-year-old kid growing up in Nastola, Finland. My focus has been on achieving success at the top tier of motorsport. I've been fortunate and have enjoyed many incredible moments in my 12 years of racing F1 so far. As I return to the place where so many of these memories were achieved, I'm looking forward to using all the knowledge I've gained to help the team to perform and progress towards our goal of fighting for world championships. Toto. Dodo. Shall I go on Toto's? What's Toto got to say? Right, here we go. Where's the quote? Voldrism. No, I can't do Toto Wolff's accent, man. Leave me alone. Alright? Valtteri's impact and contribution in the 5 years he was with us previously as our race driver was immense. Along with scoring multiple Grand Prix wins, he played a vital role in 5 of our championship victories. This is what Red Bull wanted Checo to be. Red Bull wanted Valtteri to be everything. No, Checo to be everything Valtteri was to Mercedes. To Red Bull, but he wasn't, unfortunately. 2P2s and 2P3s in the driver standings. Come on, that's what they wanted, and that's not what they got. But yeah, well done, Valtteri, back again. Will he get to an F1 seat? Look, Cadillac in 26 must be an opportunity. Mark Webber, must be an opportunity, surely. For Valtteri that he'll be keeping his eyes on, but who knows, right? Who knows? Who knows what's next beyond? We know what's next for 25, but what's next beyond that? You know what I mean? Mick Schumacher's no longer at Mercedes. No, he's not. Robert Schwartzman's no longer at Ferrari, which could open the door to Zhou Guanyu going to Ferrari. That seems to be the rumour. Most knocking about. Joe was part of the Ferrari Driver Academy years ago as well, so there is a pre-existing relationship there. But that's yet to be confirmed. That's yet to be confirmed. But yeah, Valtteri keeping himself knocking about in the F1 paddock. So we'll see for his future. 35 minutes done. I'm just going to go through the live chat. Any questions? Any? It's going to be a shame when F1 goes to Suzuka and Lawson gets booed out of the circuit. I don't think. I'd be surprised if that happens at Anvil. To be honest, I'd be very, very surprised. And Yuki will still be there. Remember, Yuki's not losing his seat entirely. He's still going to be in F1. It's just that Liam's got the Red Bull seat. You know, Dino Beganovic. Yeah, he's part of the Ferrari Driver Academy and has done a very, very impressive job jumping into F2 and the last couple of races this year. So, yeah, I think Dino's one to watch for F2 next year, 100%. Where does Gabriel Bortoletto stand? I mean, I think probably in Sao Paulo right now. I think he flew back to Sao Paulo, so he's probably standing in Sao Paulo somewhere, Emmett. That's my understanding. How's Minton, Alita? Kipping. That's what he's doing. He's having a kip in the bedroom. We got some good sun in the bedroom this morning, and he loves nothing more than sitting in the sun. Doesn't he loves it. Stroll to Weck. I mean, Eric, that's the dream, but I don't think that's going to happen. Pondon, Liam Lawson fans, rise up, mate. You're gonna be scrapping this year. You're going to be scrapping this year, fella, because it's going to be reminiscent of Albon 2020 if it doesn't go well. Because if it doesn't go well for Liam, the scrutiny is going to be unbelievable. Yeah, get ready to defend him with your life, mate. 100%. Final exam tomorrow. Seamus, good luck, mate. Good luck. Hope you give a nice Christmas. I'll get Minton. Minton gets treated at Christmas, don't you worry. He gets treated very, very well. Very, very well. Oh, push your head. Got you there, Pondon. 6-0. Oh, don't have that. Yeah. Where's Josh's video? Josh, if you're watching, get it out. Come on, live reaction. We need a live reaction. Josh, find a way to animate your caricature live, like a VTuber. That's what you need to do, Josh. Trust me. If Josh could do live streams, if he got a VTuber style on his caricature, tell Josh to do that. Tell him to do that. That would be sick. You just see his little character thing just in the corner. It's like, oh bloody Josh Rip. No, I can't do the accent. I'm sorry. Oh, there we go. Yeah, maybe he's in disbelief and paralysed of happiness. Maybe he is, and as he should be. Right, I'm going to wrap it there, everyone. Thank you all for listening and watching. Well done, Liam. Good luck. You're going to need it. But I'm cautiously optimistic that he will be a step up on Sergio Perez. And of the options available, I do think Liam is most likely to be quickest. But time will tell. And unfortunately, we'll never get to know how quick Yuki was. So, yeah, shame. But is what it is. Look after yourself, Yuki. You deserve a seat in F1 for a very long time, my friend. Oh my God, Ben. Really? Wow. Late Marduk. Right. Thank you all for watching. Appreciate you all taking the time. New video coming tomorrow. And buy the merch at TOMMO'SRacingGoods.com. Cop. Right. Ciao, adios, I'm done. Arrivederci. Bye-bye.